Hi, it's Capria, and I want to talk about building skills for policy roles. I want to start off talking about some skills that I think are helpful in the policy world, and then share some examples of types of roles that I think could help individuals build some of those skills. So, the skills that I want to talk about are research, writing, and communication. So, I think research is really important for the reason that I shared in a previous video, and that research and policy inform each other. And I would encourage you to not think that you have to be a data analyst or heavy researcher, but really just understand how research informs policy and build skills in being able to confidently leverage research in your in policy work. And this takes time. None of us are automatic experts in anything, and so it's just something to think about. And maybe this is already a skill that you have. And so, if you have that skill, I would definitely encourage you to elevate that. But really, to me, I think that's one of the things that can definitely help people move into this space and, build expertise within the policy space. The other two are kind of related, and they are writing and communication. And writing, is really about being able to communicate effectively, in written form, which again is going to be really important in the policy space. Most likely you'll be talking to people from a wide variety of backgrounds, from community members to community partners to researchers to other policy organizations and think tanks to politicians and other political figures. And so being able to write in a way, whether that's email, whether that's a policy brief, whether that's a report, but being able to communicate effectively to these individuals and tailor your communication to meet the needs of your audience is going to be really important. And so I think that that's one that, again, many of us already have that skill, and just elevating, how you leverage that skill and how you can leverage that skill in your policy work. And then, of course, the last one, like I said, is related, which is communication. I can't tell you how many times I have seen in job descriptions and in interviews about questions around your experience communicating complex information to audiences. It's a really important skill, and when you think about it, it's something that is so necessary in the policy world. Many of these laws, rules, and regulations that we talk about are more complex than they need to be. And so you have to be able to talk about them in a way that is easily understandable to people, and or it is adjusted based on the audience. So whether you're talking to the public or a community member, or whether you're talking to a political figure, the way that you talk about things might need to be adjusted. But more importantly, as I said, many of us already have that skill. And so when, as a clinician, as a social worker, as a professional in general, you are most likely have a lot of experience communicating complex information, especially if I think about clinical information. It's probably just as complex and possibly more complex than the policy work that we talk about. And so thinking about how to elevate those skills, I think, will be really important for those looking to work in this space. I also want to talk about the types of roles that might be helpful for those looking to transition into this space. So the first one to me is the research and data roles, which I've talked about this a little bit before, but essentially, because of the intersection between research and policy, it's very easy to see the connections between the two, in the sense that a lot of the research and data that's analyzed or created is used to make policy decisions. And so those types of roles have a pretty clear link between the two. Again, but that's not going to be the best fit for a lot of people, because again, a lot of people, that may not be their strongest skill set. And so, but for those of you that it is, that might be a potential role that might be of benefit to you. A program or project support role might also be helpful, again, to learn more about, there are data, making decisions, drawing conclusions about things, writing, research, etc., that are included in program roles. Again, there's a lot of ties to policy, in the sense that many of these roles can be found in policy organizations, including the one that I currently am employed with. And so there's definitely some very easy connections, I think, with both of these roles too. I just caution people, you can get pigeonholed pretty quickly into things. And so you want to be careful, you want to be strategic. And I definitely encourage people to talk with their employers about, what they are interested in long term, in the hopes that they might be able to help them, build skills in those areas that are able to help them get to their next kind of point in their journey, if policy is really kind of what you're hoping to do next. And the third one, I might be obvious, might not be as obvious to some people, but I definitely think the clinical and direct support roles are some of the strongest roles to help people transition to policy. And I say that because, as I mentioned earlier, there's the research, writing, and communication. Those things are already things that people are doing in direct practice roles. And, I think that the real kind of need is to be able to articulate that well and be able to strongly make the connections between the two, because they're there. For example, the ones that come to mind for me are the reality that many people in direct practice, most all possibly, utilize institutional policy and state and federal policies to make decisions. You are making decisions about how to handle cases based on institutional or the policies of your employer. So what are their policies about how often you need to contact an individual to do checkups or follow-ups or things, or how long you need to have them on your caseload? Those things are institutional policies that you adhere by. There are state and federal policies around how to work with individuals. There are state and federal policies around who is eligible for SNAP or Medicaid. Those things are policies. Those are policies that you are utilizing to, again, make decisions or provide information to individuals. Like if you hear a person who has a certain income, you might suggest to them, you should look into, Medicaid or something, because you believe that they may or may not qualify for something. And maybe you're not having that conversation directly with them, but it may come up in your mind as something that maybe they might qualify for, because you are aware of the policies around Medicaid or SNAP, etc. And so there are a lot of applications of policy, which is why micro, meso, and macro are all connected, because you are utilizing these macro level and systems level policies to both influence like your decisions and influence how you are looking at situations. And the second point to that I want to make, that I think should be emphasized a lot, is that you are not only are you applying these policies, you have intimate knowledge about the gaps between research, policy, and practice. And as we know, this gap is very common. This gap is the cause of a lot of disconnect and the cause of a lot of conflicts that go on. Your ability to very directly see the gap between policy and practice is invaluable. Like there is a need, and to be honest, those of us in the policy world, we leverage those insights to help us make decisions. So you already have the insights that are helping policy professionals make decisions, but you have to be able to, or you should, I would encourage people to really think about how to leverage that experience and communicate that information to others. And I don't think that there's really any additional training that needs to be done. I think that people need to be able to, again, clearly understand how their role intersects with policy roles already, and feel confident in their ability to articulate how their experience lends itself to systems level roles. And so definitely encourage people to think a lot about that and how they're thinking about, elevating their experience in the policy space. So those are some of my thoughts. I'd love to hear if other people have other suggestions about the types of roles or work that can be helpful. Again, there are so many roles, and I always encourage people to look at the job description. Do not get caught up in the title at all. If you get caught up in the title, you will miss so many roles. I've seen roles like consultant, coordinator, that have program manager, that all have policy analysis and policy work ingrained in them, but you wouldn't know that if you were just looking for a policy advocacy job title. So those are my thoughts. Again, looking forward to hear any thoughts or ideas or reflections that you all have about this.